Michael Proctor and other members of the Massachusetts State Police have been accused of handling several investigations poorly, and Anna Walshe is one of those cases. Prosecutors believe that her husband Brian Walshe killed her after he discovered that Anna was having an affair, and also so that Brian could access the $2.7 million in her life insurance policy for which he was the sole beneficiary. This is a little warning for some gross details. If you're not interested, I'll see you on the next one. There is a ton of evidence that Brian not only killed his wife Anna, but also dismembered her using a hacksaw or a hatchet, and then disposed of her body in various apartment complex dumpsters. In the days following Anna's disappearance, Brian Walshe is seen carrying heavy trash bags to apartment complex dumpsters. Unfortunately, by the time the police had access to the surveillance footage and saw Brian Walshe dumping these bags, those dumpsters of trash had already been removed and burned. That specifically is not a criticism of the police because they did get to this trash very quickly. It's just that apartment complexes have a high turnover of removing waste, etc. Also, he allegedly had a head start because this all happened on New Year's Day and she was not reported missing until her employer reported her missing on the 4th. So he allegedly had 3 or 4 days to cover his track. He was also seen doing a bunch of other extremely shady things, like going to Home Depot and buying a ton of cleaning supplies. Over the course of various trips to Lowe's and Home Depot, he bought a hatchet, a hacksaw, a full-body cleaning suit, goggles, mops, 5-gallon buckets, bags of rag. He went to CVS and bought 13 different types of hydrogen peroxide, whatever that means. I didn't even know there were 13 different types. And perhaps most disturbingly are these searches completed on their child's iPad. Him and Anna had 3 children together between the ages of 2 and 6. It's believed that they were at home but likely not present when all of this happened. And on his 6-year-old's iPad, he made the following searches on January 1st, starting at 4:55 a.m. How long before a body starts to smell? How long for someone to be missing to inherit? How long does DNA last? You can pause to read. But that's not all. He made more searches the next 2 days as well. On January 2nd, he makes these searches. Can you be charged with murder without a body? I don't even think I can read all of these. And then here are his searches from the 3rd, including can baking soda make body smell good? He had spent $450 in cash on cleaning supplies, and one of the cleaning supplies was baking soda. After using Brian's phone to track him to an apartment complex where he had dumped some trash on January 5th, 5 days after Anna disappeared, they finally struck some luck and found trash that had not yet been incinerated. And in that trash, they found 10 trash bags that contained a bunch of evidence. Anna's purse, Anna's boots, her clothing that she was wearing, as well as a vaccine card with her name on it. They also found blood stains, a full body suit with reddish brown stains that later tested positive for Anna's DNA, and a hacksaw and a hatchet, both of which have likely been tested since, but I haven't seen that data. In Brian's house, they found a blood-stained rug with what they say is human tissue on it, as well as a broken and bloodied knife, and Brian had went and purchased more rugs in between when Anna disappeared and when the police were on to him. He was actually initially arrested not for Anna's murder, but for misleading the police because he gave them false information about where he was and what he was doing. And this was especially bad because he had already pled guilty to 3 different charges against him in a totally unrelated crime. Back in 2016, he had sold 2 paintings and claimed they were authentic Andy Warhol paintings. He had not yet been sentenced for the fraud, but he was on house arrest, and he had to report to authorities whenever he planned to leave the house. So investigators had to filter through 3 different versions of events. First, they had the timeline that he originally gave authorities about where he would be that week, so that he could be granted leave from his home confinement. Then there was the timeline he told police when they came to do the wellness check on Anna Walshe. And lastly, there's the actual timeline, which is put together from video surveillance and his GPS from his phone. And until today, there's been some question on if all of this evidence against him would be thrown out. Because when Massachusetts State Police went to get Brian Walsh's phone in the first place, they didn't exactly get consent for the whole phone. Dishonorably discharged, disgraced former trooper Michael Proctor was the lead investigator on this case as well. Obviously, after he left, Buchanan has stepped in for this one too. Also, Nicholas Guarino did the phone extraction, and recently rehomed trooper David Deica was the one that actually talked to Walshe about getting the phone extraction. They wanted to search his phone based on his consent as opposed to a search warrant. So they asked him, can we have your phone? Can we extract the whole phone and look at communications between you and Anna? And he was like, I don't know, you gotta talk to my lawyer, I don't know. After talking to the lawyer, who was like, there might be some privileged stuff in there, and allegedly told the troopers to be limited in what they took from the phone. The troopers instead took everything from the phone and looked at all of it. They looked at his GPS location, they pulled out these heinous search queries, and so Walsh's lawyer submitted a motion to suppress a lot of evidence. And this made a lot of people wonder if there was going to be a fruit of the poisonous tree issue in this case. If everything they found came from an illegal search of his phone, would they still have any evidence against him at all? But the prosecution's argument is essentially, look, we were gonna find this information either way. And I gotta be honest, I think truthfully they were going to find it either way. The one thing that could be argued probably is that the dumpster might have been burned before they got to it. And I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think that you can make arguments based on hypotheticals like that. Like, hypothetically, the trash could have gone before you had time to get to it, so you can't have it as evidence. I don't think that works. Anyway, I haven't seen the documents themselves yet to see like the explanation of everything, but based on the docket, it looks like the judge is denying those motions to suppress a lot of that evidence. She is allowing the search warrant to be suppressed about the GPS on the 2013 Volkswagen Beetle and about location data on December 30th and December 31st. This is before Anna disappeared. But for everything else, it is denied. So I do think that means that all of the evidence against him will come into court on October 20th when he's taken to trial. That is the current update. This is one of those cases that has a timeline that's confusing enough that it's hard to explain all at once. So hopefully this made a little bit of sense for those of you that don't follow his case at all. I'm gonna let it come to me in a dream how to present this timeline to y'all, because I know once I process this data a little bit more, I'm gonna figure it out. I tried to make a video today and I was like, that's just too confusing. So we'll see. Okay, love you guys. Drink water. Bye.